I had dated a few different Thai women, like more than a few, but there's an understanding of the severity of life here by most people. I was in a marriage that was not working well. I ended up going to a rehab. If I was in the U.S., I would have to hopefully find a job again.
How did you meet?
On a dating website. I would coerce people into, like, we're going to do this my way. Not everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure.
All right, so Tom, we actually met at a comedy show here in Chiang Mai, where you were doing a little bit of stand-up there, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But first, could you tell us about your life before Thailand?
That's a long time. I'm 65 and a half, but I was from the U.S., born in Ohio. When I was 25, I started doing stand-up. So I went to the mail today, and I got in the mailbox. I got a residual check for $31.18. Yeah. So it looks like it's going to be a good Christmas after all. Seriously, I did get one. I was very excited. I swear to God, I opened it up and I saw the back that was a check, and I get them every once in a while, and I was like, please God, please let it be like one of those crazy ones that I wasn't expecting. But it wasn't. And first really locally, and then that just started to spread out regionally. And then through a series of events, I ended up in New York. And then as I was in New York, I just quickly got passed in some of the more kind of prestigious clubs there, and really changed my life. I've had so much good fortune. I kind of got pulled into doing writing for television, for late night TV. And it was the beginning of the Conan O'Brien Show, and I got contacted by someone that already had a job there, asking if I'd be interested in submitting to become a writer on that show. And I said I really wasn't a writer, I just did stand-up, and they said, that's kind of ridiculous. You write for your stand-up, and then they helped coach me through putting together a writing package. And apparently Conan liked that, and I sent him a stand-up tape from a TV, like a cable TV show, and he responded to that, and I got a job. And I'm really happy for it. I was union work. I had to pay union dues, which fed into both getting health insurance and a pension, which I never thought about, and which I probably wouldn't have paid any mind to.
This was the Writers Guild?
Yeah, Writers Guild of America. And then once I, after the fact of kind of moving here and getting here, the same pension that I'd get a annual notice about, that I would go, oh, well, that'll be a little something, in my golden years, suddenly became like, that's some money in Thailand. And I ended up taking that. It was all I needed, for sure. As a single person in Thailand.
Sometimes I meet people here, and they start talking to me and start talking to what did you do, this and that, and I start telling them, and then I tell them these TV credits, and they'll go, wow, man, are you famous? And I go, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of me? That's kind of a prerequisite for fame, is kind of people knowing you. So. Then the other thing people will say is, are you rich? It's like, no, I'm not very rich. I'm kind of like, I'm Thai rich. I live here. I mean, it's pretty good here. If I lived back in the U.S., it would suck right now with the amount of money I got.
And my career has been like astounding and really fortunate. I put a lot of work into it, but I've gotten so many great breaks. But the things that were pleasing and exciting to me in my 20s or 30s, start to be at the end of my 40s, start to be like, okay, I did this, and the thrill is gone, and also the way I felt towards the work, because there are different levels of creativity and different levels of freedom of creativity, and situation like that, it's like, I'm glad I had the skill to be able to do those jobs of like
we need these kind of jokes, or when this is a bit or whatever, and to figure that out. And there's something really amazing about that. But it's also almost like puzzle solving. It's more than this like free thought of something that drives me. Which,
how do you come up with it? How do you come up with the jokes? What
for
was your
like
process?
a TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, I got introduced to a computer the first day I walked into the Conan O'Brien Show, and I was kind of like, I don't really need one of those. I'll just write stuff on a yellow pad. And they were like, no, you can't do that. I mean, you have to be able to write this stuff so we can get it in the system. We got scripts and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, okay. And so they had Macs, which I think it's still true that most of the show business in the U.S. runs on Mac. It was New York, so they would get us all the papers. And, you know, we get a bundle with our last name on it in front of our office doors. Shared office at that time. I didn't have a private office. And just go through all the papers, you know, all of them. Anyone that we could get in New York. I don't know if we got out-of-town papers, but we get New York Times, we get New York Post, Daily News, on. And Wall Street Journal, we look into that. We just look, and you just read. That would be the big part of the morning, would just be reading stuff. And I would start before I'd come to work. I'd be taking a shower and I'd put on 1010 Wins, which was, you know, local news. And they would tell all the New York news, because every once in a while I go, you know, catch my attention. I go, that's a story that might have some jokes in it.
So if you're currently planning your travels to Thailand or anywhere else in the world, I think you'll find our partners on today's vlog very useful. This is Saley's eSIM. An eSIM is a digital SIM card that's built into your phone, so you don't have to constantly keep switching SIM cards every time you land in a new destination. It helps you avoid expensive roaming fees and keeps you connected even when there's no Wi-Fi around. All you have to do is download the Saley app, choose a data plan for the country that you're going to be visiting, and you're good to go. It works in over 190 countries, so you can set it up before you're traveling, so you're instantly connected when you arrive. I'm sure we've all been in the position where we had no access to Wi-Fi and no data and needed to call a friend or get a ride somewhere. Saley's eSIM makes sure that never happens to you. You can now get 15% off Saley's data plans using my code word NakedGuru at checkout. Download the app or use this QR code on screen. Those links are below for you in the pinned comment and the description.
Some things you would just know, there's nothing funny down that way. That's just a bummer. And I don't know, like, if it comes from, you know, out of the cosmos, and I don't know if it's just something inside me that I'm not real conscious of, and my mind pulls things together, but it really does. And sometimes it really is just like fitting some stuff, like it's like, you know, craftsmanship or something. But there's times, man, it's usually like the best things just seem to just drop out of nowhere, and they're almost complete. They're almost take no tinkering with. It's just like, and a lot of times when that happens, it's just like I am suspicious. I go, I heard that from somewhere else. Did that? And then sometimes I go to other, like, people that worked in the staff. I go, have you heard this joke before? Because, you know, and then they'll go, no, I never heard that. That's good. And I go like, oh, okay.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I love that my in-laws live with me. They're really nice people. And, you know, I get along well with them. When you live in the same house, there are certain little things that get to you. Both of the biggest problems I have with my in-laws revolve around this new refrigerator that I bought. It's a pretty nice refrigerator. I'm not really bragging, but it's nice. It's with Yai. Now, Yai, you guys want to guess? That is the grandmother on the mother's side. So, Yai, I spotted her. We've got these water bottles. They're like, I don't know metric either. So it's like, I think it's like a quart, and I don't know maybe it's a liter. I don't know. But we have a bunch of them. But it was maybe a couple weeks ago. I'm sitting at the kitchen table. Yai comes in. Hey, Yai. She doesn't speak any. You know, I don't think she understands where she is. But she,
I see her, she gets one of the quart water bottles, or liter, I know she doesn't know what it is. She opens it up and she drinks straight out of the bottle. And then she does the cap back on and sticks it in like, wow, I'm having a hard time talking, in the shelf on the door. And we got a series of like 6 bottles there. So after that, I'm playing like Yai roulette. Which water bottle did Yai drink out of that I don't want to drink out of?
What would you say was the hardest point in your life before Thailand, and how did you end up there?
In the time that I probably was the most conscious of the pain I was experiencing, I had had success, and I had a lot of things go really well, and it was just like kind of the bottom falling out on what I was using to believe in about life and about how to go on. I just got, terribly depressed and really anxious and everything. And that was so hard. That was so hard on a daily basis. It was really terrifying. It was just like, I had never experienced that level of like panic and anxiety. And I'd heard people talk about it, and I could kind of get what they were saying about, but I didn't ever know that experience. And it wasn't just a short matter of time. It took me a few years to work out of that with professional help and friends and all that kind of stuff with different things. And it wasn't like just a drop, and it wasn't just a research. It was kind of like, and life things started to match up with it in a way that was almost like a country music song. It really was like I was going down, and then I was in a marriage that was not working well. It wasn't working as badly as I thought would be necessary to end a marriage, but my wife at that time did not. And these years later, I feel she was right. And we're still in contact, not a lot, but some, and friendly and all that. But it took a while, but I've really grown to appreciate that she did that. But so that marriage ended, and I had a dog. Like, oh, I love this dog, and I was so down. It would be pathetic. At the end of the night, I'd be with this dog going, oh man, whatever you do, don't die. I'm not gonna be able to. And then suddenly I hear one late afternoon, I hear this crash sound from the living room. I thought I had this big mirror in there. I thought that fell down. I walked in, the mirror's up, and there's my dog kind of like woozy like this, and there's definitely something really wrong. And they had it ended up like they had a large a tumor on their spleen or something like that. And it was that day that it had ruptured, and took them to the vet and discussed it. And then they said, I came to the conclusion with their explanation stuff to put him down. And that was just like, oh my God. And just down. And then the other time was just like a huge, I guess, part of my life was I did lots of drinking and drug stuff as in early life, like starting really pretty young. Like, it's not the youngest I've ever heard, but I think like messing around with it when I could at a very early age. And then the first time ever blacking out from drinking too much was at 11. So, and that was not in any way like, well, that's the end of that, I should know. It was just, I don't know, it was on. And then other substances came in, and I pretty much, when people ask me, it's like, I've done most everything, but I never injected drugs. Like, I never did heroin or anything like that. And some of it was, a lot of it was fear. And then some of it, I think, was access. Who I was around, what I was doing back in that era, it's not the same as it is now. I think like if I was the same person with the same attraction to that stuff, living in, suburbia now, it would be there. And I'd probably be like, oh yeah, let me do this. So, but that was at at 25, at the end of a lot of rough stuff, I ended up going to a rehab, and it was kind of a last-ditch effort, and really without, I mean, I guess I must have had some hope that something could get different because I went there, but I don't remember having much hope that anything would change because I had tried. And then what happened is I stopped, and I've stayed stopped, and that's nearly 40 years now. I know for people that don't have a problem, I don't know. I mean, like, they just, like, I don't know what it means to them. But for me, that was so involved in that being every aspect of kind of what I was looking for in life, to go to nothing and then to have nothing for 40 years and to try to take on life without that kind of reliance on anything like that, it's been really interesting and also really challenging at times, because it's like, holy moly. In New York, Rodney Dangerfield would come in sometimes to some of the shows. I don't know if you know Rodney Dangerfield, but I remember he got up on stage. He would come in really intoxicated, and I wasn't doing anything by then, but it would be like, wow, Rodney's here and he is messed up, and he'd get up on stage. But then there's times he would come in and he was kind of bright-eyed or whatever. This one time I remember him coming in, he was like, you could tell he hadn't been drinking or anything. He gets on stage, and most people would respond really well because he's like Rodney or whatever, but he'd tell some jokes. He told some jokes and, like, got nothing. He goes, come on, folks, I'm doing this straight tonight. And it's just kind of like that in general. It's like sometimes how I feel about life. It's like, hey, man, I'm doing this without any aid from anything that's, you know, I never was able to limit the amount of things I can take, but I see people, I'm like, if I could drink a few drinks, I'm like, that would be wonderful. Using it in a way that would be really nice, that, you know, calms hits your frontal lobes. You don't get so self-conscious, all that. You just start to relax and go, but I just blow through that. I mean, and just go into oblivion.
We argue. When we first got together and we had arguments, like real arguments, she would always say, in the middle of it, she'd go, don't brain me. And I'd be like, we're in the middle of an argument, so I can't really stop and go, what are you? And I'd just be like, in my mind, I'm going, what the hell is don't brain me? And then I'm like, oh, I got to keep arguing. And I go back to it, and then it finally, she stops, and we stop, and I'm like, God damn, what? Don't brain me. That's got to be something in Thai that, means something or whatever. And then it was like, I'm serious, like years later, we've been together 10 years. It was years later, we're arguing this one time, and she goes, don't brain me, and it just clicks. I go, oh, she's saying don't blame me. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense now. I didn't know. And
you were married before, you said, and that marriage broke down. What do you think the reasons were? And now you're married to a Thai. What do you think is different? What has been resolved there in the way you are in relationship?
Well, I think, with hindsight, looking back, a lot of stuff, I think I was just coming to, a bottom. And it just was very unfortunate, and I have a lot of regret for my first wife experiencing this with me. But I think I was just hanging on to trying to make my ways of dealing with life go. And they weren't all bad ways of stuff. I just don't think that they were incredibly healthy. They were pretty, I was shut down in a lot of ways, even though I would tap into emotional stuff in certain ways. I think I was pretty shut down. I would withdrawn a lot, and my MO would be that I get with somebody and I just start to withdraw, and they would naturally start to go on with their life, and it would just seem to be like separate lives, parallel lives, maybe at best. And it almost felt like I'm just living with, roommate with somebody. And I think after that happened and that kind of like a collapse, I think I just started to reevaluate and kind of like build up from that and start to regard myself and start to regard different people in different ways. I think the difference is I think I have a better ability to kind of see people as other people and not some kind of narcissistic extension of myself, that they're merely players in my play of some kind, and that I hate saying this stuff because I want to defend myself. Like I'm not a terrible person. Like, I mean, I didn't like run roughshod over people, but I think I did just, like out of self-centered fear and different things, and some things because I'm fairly bright, I've been through things. I just thought I knew the ways that people ought to do stuff, and even if I wouldn't say that overtly, I would coerce people into like, we're going to do this my way, and I need you to do this in my way and represent the stuff I need you to be, so that I'm going to be able to exist and feel okay. Because, I was thinking I'm terribly fragile and I'll fall apart and all this stuff. And I think I fell apart. And then I kind of, I realized I wasn't that fragile, and that a lot of these things were, not things I wanted anymore. And that marriage broke up 20 years ago, 25 years, something a while ago. So it wasn't like suddenly, it was kind of coming into these things. And then I've been with my wife. We started dating 9 years ago, 9.5 years. It's coming up to 10 years. I'm not sure.
How did you meet?
On dating website. So we met and it just started to go in a different way. I had dated a few different Thai women, like more than a few, but I dated for months or 6 months or whatever, and kind of learned some different stuff and kind of repeated different stuff. And there was a lot of me that was like, I don't know, man, if I'm cut out to be coupled. Maybe it's not, and push pull about whether I want that or not. But then we met, and it seemed to be pretty easy just to go along, and it wasn't the same kind of thing I experienced before. But I just kept going with it, and it was obvious that we're different. And maybe because it's so obvious with like language stuff and cultural stuff, I think maybe that helped me into being like, yeah, man, people have different ways and seeing things in a different way.
She was walking around the house not too long ago singing a song, and she's like singing, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. And then she looks at me and she goes, you know that song? I go, no, I don't know that song, because I really don't think it is a song. You know that song, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. Like if she sings it some more, I'm gonna go, oh yeah, that song. But I'm like, no, I don't know that one. And it went on for a few weeks. Like she's just, doing something, and then I'm Mark Zuckerberg, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. And I'm like, this is crazy. Then we went to Maya Mall. We're walking around there with the kids, and they got music playing over the sound system, different songs, and then all of a sudden she goes, hey, this is a Mark Zuckerberg song. And it was Sia, I'm unstoppable, I'm invincible. Wow, he really went far afield on that one.
There's all kinds of things that go into it. Some of it's like we got kids, and that keeps I think it keeps you striving for different kinds of things. But I know I've done my part, but I'm impressed with my wife too, because she comes from a culture that doesn't, in a lot of ways, doesn't dig deep into like why, and it's just kind of like, that's over, let's continue on. And she's kind of like, she's been willing to look at things within herself and to try to work things out with us, and it's noticeable. Like, and I'm impressed, and I appreciate it too. I know it's to her benefit, but it's also, I know some of the motivation is because she cares and loves about me and our family, that she wants us to be able to function better. And that being said, it's like, I don't know, we're a kooky little family, but there's lots of love in our family, lots of humor. There's fighting, there's all the different stuff that goes on, but it's taught me, number one, living in Thailand for about 14 years, I think has made me grow and grow up more than any other time in my life, from just what it's presented me with. And then, as a subset of that, and even more so, is being involved in not just marriage, but with kids. It's just like, there were things I was always afraid about with taking that on, things that I didn't want to repeat, that I felt like weren't great in my childhood with my dad and parents and stuff like that, and me kind of avoiding stuff about that and just different things. But then getting into this situation, and it's really great, but also having the experience of doing the exact same things that hurt me from my dad, that I thought, that motherfucker. And
is there any particular examples of that? Or?
No, just general things of just like anger, like not being able to control my anger sometimes, or lack of patience, and seriously, all the way against my own will of like, I don't want to get upset in this situation, and just get really upset. And once again, I want to defend myself. It's not like crazy shit in public, smacking my kids, and it's just like getting mad and saying things that are hurtful, and all these things that I've had to come to realize I'm a human, and I'm somewhere on the spectrum of between shitty dad and husband to the most glowing example of a parent and a spouse. And I'm somewhere, I'm probably going towards the good side for sure, but I have I think I've always had a really difficult time about my own humanness, and I think that I still do. And I think that I'm having more and more moments where I accept that, but I've never had an easy time at all about accepting myself. And even to this day, some people would go like, oh my God, that guy, he's got barely any self-esteem. But for me, it's like miles ahead of where things went. And I'm having like, I don't have feelings of like, Tom, I really love you, you're an amazing. I don't get that. But I'm having more times of having aspects of myself where I go, oh, I like that. I like that I'm like that.
It's a redeeming quality.
Like I had that about my idea about humor. I just was it was my job. It was just, and it was stuff through my life that I liked or whatever, but I never stopped. But it's been recently, like, time gets away from me, but it's probably, I think it was within this last year that I stopped and said, I like my sense of humor. And I know that I'm not saying everybody should like my sense of humor, and I get that demonstrated to me fairly often, where there's some people that don't like my sense of humor.
In the stand-up.
Yeah. Or just in, daily life. Some people, they're maybe not as into the humor or the kind of humor. Some shit will go by them or whatever. But not everybody likes. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure. But what I'm saying is, I'm my cup of tea. Like I make myself laugh, and there's certain times about that I've only got so many people around. Like when I used to go to a job, there were audience, like all my coworkers and stuff, and I could say stuff and I'd get laughs. And now I'll try with social media some, and I do get satisfaction out of putting a joke on social media and it's responded to, or if I go, that's very funny, that I really like it. But I don't have as many people that could tell about, like, so I'm cracking jokes to myself sometimes, and I'm going, that's funny, man. That's a funny idea.
Can you make your wife laugh, or is it different?
Yeah, and that's a thing that I think puts us together. And she also's got a dark sense of humor.
Okay.
And she'll laugh at stuff that I go, that's so. I mean, like, she'll laugh, and I just started to notice because she comprehends a lot in English, but she doesn't get it all. But when there's something presented like comedy or a movie or something like that, sometimes we're watching it together, she'll laugh at the place that I go, that's the funny part. She's laughing at the funny part that I feel like's the funny part. And this is kind of a crazy thing. When we first started going out, I lived in this guest house right down there before we bought this place. And she was in Bangkok. She'd come up here, or I'd go down there. She came up this one time. I had been talking to her about Alfred Hitchcock, and I go, Alfred Hitchcock? She said, no. And I go, oh, he's pretty great. He did all these kind of horror movie, thriller, really amazing. And I brought up The Birds, and I go, I got to get my hands on The Birds. So I got it, and I said, so we're going to watch The Birds. She goes, oh, okay. So we sit down and watch The Birds, and we're watching it. And it's, I'm sitting there going, this is pretty old-timey. But I guess this Tippi Hedren is bird comes and pecks her in the head. And it's like one of the first times of, like, examples of the birds are starting to go mad. Comes out and pecks her in the head. And my wife starts laughing so hard. And I go, wow, that's a crazy reaction. And then the further it gets into that and the bird attacks, she's dying laughing. And I'm like, this is so wild. And then I think she picked up on that it was doing that to me. But then she, at the end of the movie, she goes, oh, so funny movie. She goes, do you have more of them? And I'm like, oh, I love that. And I love that. I mean, like, I can't analyze that right now, but that probably is a really great example of not only why I care about my wife, but why I like it here too, because there's an understanding of the severity of life here by most people. It's like they're not oblivious to it. They're not sugarcoating it. They're not trying to blow it up into, like, this is all lollipops and, rainbows. But they're finding within it, like, this is the life we live, and why ruin it by not finding good stuff within it, And, like, people will go, and this is back to, like, my perspective as a Farang coming to Thailand and being here 14 years. I've gotten some of it, but I could be here forever and not completely understand. But my general sense is that not that people aren't aspirational and that they don't have things, but I don't think this is changing some because of technology and people, whatever. But I think they sit there and go, oh, that would be really nice to have a new car and that. But I don't think they do. I would be happy if I got that new car. I don't think they go to that, which that's almost seems like everything in certain mentality of in the West that is like, I'm unhappy and it must just be that I'm missing that thing or enough of this or two, and that if I can get all that, then I don't think they have that idea as much. I think they have the idea like, oh, those could make life easier and could be nicer or whatever. But I don't think they have an idea that that would provide happiness. Thailand's not for everybody, but if it is for you, it's really great. And I think it is the kind of place for me. And I know other people it's not. And I know it's a great place for almost anybody to come to spend some time, because I don't know if I've ever experienced anybody who I've either met coming here traveling or had friends or family that have come here. They go, man, this place is nice. This is a nice thing. And I think there's a lot to that. You get to decompress from that stress of feeling like you're constantly under the gun to live up to something that some of it is not even like known. It's some kind of free-floating anxiety of like, I'm not measuring up somehow. I don't even know what it is, but I better fucking figure out and measure up, or I'm in trouble. And then also, that feeds into that I think takes a pressure off. It's like the financial thing with me, because if I was in the U.S., I would have to hopefully find a job again, which at my age is like, I might, but I might not. But if I didn't, and we were all there, we sure not living like this.
What do you think Thailand has taught you, that you didn't know before when you were living in America? What do you think has been the fundamental lesson or transformation that the country's taught you, something along the way, or maybe just the process of getting older here has taught you along the way?
I think there's been a huge process of me letting go of assumption and old ideas about things, and a growing ability to live more in what's real, like what's really my life about, and not to sit there and go like, oh, and I'm at peace and surrender. It's like, I'm emotionally turbulent and I go through all kinds of stuff, but I think I've gotten a better sense here, and maybe it's because I ran out a whole lot of stuff prior in my life, and then that it's that kind of stuff about like what's most valuable to me and what will make me feel the best in life. Yeah, and all that also was brought up a lot of sadness, because I think I've gotten much more in touch with this is temporary, man. And I'm not going to claim like I'm a big Buddhist at all. I know some stuff. I don't know very much. But those kind of spiritual ideas about like, this shit ain't lasting forever. And I see it happening in my aging body. I have quite a bit of older friends here, because retirement kind of people. And I've seen quite a few people pass away, and both my parents have passed away since I've been here. I think I've just gotten a much more of, there isn't some place for me to get to. I got to get this, or I got to get that, or I got to achieve this. I'm like, this shit's happening. And it's like, if this was a play, I'm definitely in the third act. And I want to be able to appreciate it as best I can. And when I say appreciate it, just not like enjoy it, but like appreciate all that life has to offer. I have present moments in relationship to other humans here more often than I did, because I don't think people are trying to outrun some shit in their mind, or I got to get this done to get that or that. Like you walk into the 7-Eleven here, and I can have a really connected moment with the clerk that's just, how you doing, here it goes, like eye contact, presence, and sometimes a little fumble or something and a laugh, and it's just like, this is oddly like precious kind of stuff that feels fulfilling on a level that grand accomplishments never did. Not that there was not anything wrong with that, not that I don't feel lucky to have gotten to experience certain things, meet certain people, all that kind of stuff. It's not, I'm not driven by the idea of accomplishment. Like I go like, I ain't got nothing to prove. I don't really feel anything to prove as far as worldly kind of stuff, but I do feel like I got something to prove, like treat my kids better, treat my wife better, treat myself better, treat the clerk better. Just try to learn to become, a more awake, generous person as best I can. That seems to be what compels me. Other people aren't compelled to do that. And I know that some of what's mixed in there is probably some, injury shit where I'm like trying to rectify something. And a lot of it is probably like early introduction to ideas like that by my parents, because they were all about, they were doctors, and they lived in Burma before I was born. My oldest sister was there. They were all about like, this should, your motivation in life should be trying to help others more than just trying to go for yourself. And that stuck with me. And I also, when I have that experience, it's not like it's all like selfless thing. I feel best in that situation. And I feel best when I'm doing that myself. And that's the thing that makes me more often stop when I'm in fear and looking to try to do things for a selfish, I want to get it, to go, do you really? Because you've done that how many times and found it really unfulfilling, no matter how much you get.
Yeah.
And conversely, how many times have you even reluctantly gone, and I do that with my kids all the time, it's like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. And I do it, and there's a sense of, oh, that was right. That was the right thing to do. It felt good. And
And if people want to go and see you live, are you usually down at the comedy club? Do you play there often? It's actually the Moat House, right?
Yeah.
Where it's held.
I go there regularly, but not all the time. And they don't do it all the time either. But
So you've got to find it. I think there's a dude called Ian that organizes it.
And he organizes a lot of the stuff, thank goodness, because he's really been a big contributor to making comedy go on in Chiang Mai, and I'm really happy that's going on. I participate sometimes, but I don't do so much because I'm just like, I'll do a lot of stuff. I'm tired. I'll do it, but I'll show up to do shows, and then he and I are doing some event at the end of this week, so I wanted to kind of get like back on stage and my feet under me so that I could kind of at least go up there and have something going. But there are shows that come up periodically.
I'll leave those links below. And thank you, Tom, for the chat today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope it had some interesting things to it.